Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Mills, and today I wanted to talk to you about the pros and the cons of teaching abroad in the Dominican Republic specifically. Before I get started, if you can hit subscribe, that would be amazing. Thank you. So, it's another humid day here, hence this. I also want to do a video about cost of living in Santiago specifically, and I want to kind of drive around to those places and show you what kind of to live here would cost you on a monthly basis. So comment below if that's something that's interesting to you, and I'll put that together because that might be cool. You can see more of the city as well. Okay, so I taught abroad in the Dominican Republic for 1 year. I made a video about things you should bring, things to ask when teaching abroad or in the interview. But this is just a quick rundown of some pros and cons that I experienced in my year teaching here. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone. I'm sure every person that you ask will give you a different answer about their own pros and cons. This was my experience. Starting off, one of the pros that I had was that I knew that I wanted to teach in the Dominican Republic. Well, backing up, I knew that I wanted to live in the Dominican Republic, and specifically in Jarabacoa, which is the town that I spent a year in. There are not a lot of jobs for expats there. There's a lot of mission opportunities like volunteering or missionaries where you are getting support every month from family, friends, church back home, but you're not making any income. I knew that I didn't want to do that because I wanted to be able to save some money here. So it really narrowed it down to teaching. So that was a pro for me because I knew what country I wanted to go to. A lot of people are really open, which is great because then you have more opportunities. But it helped me just like narrow down from a country to a city that I wanted to be in. So it wasn't as overwhelming trying to find a job and like where I wanted to be. I'd say it's a pro is that it's pretty easy to find a teaching job in the Dominican Republic because they need teachers, and there's a good amount of public schools, private schools, Christian schools through different types of organizations. So I don't think it's too hard to find one. They're not as abundant as other countries, but you can definitely find a job pretty easily here. Especially if you are just looking to teach English. I will say that that's important to differentiate. Most people go abroad to teach English, and I taught a whole grade. So I taught 4th grade, math, social studies, science, reading, Bible, spelling, like every subject. It makes my experience different. So these pros and cons, I think you'll understand why some of them are pros and cons. Another pro of teaching in the Dominican Republic is that there are a good amount of expats here. So it is fairly easy to meet other Americans, Canadians, people from other countries. So you don't feel like you're completely alone in a new culture without any friends or people that you can easily communicate with. A pro at my school was that there were like 5 other American teachers. So that really helped me because right away, like, I have people who taught there a year before, 2 years before, that I could ask for advice in a different way. You know, of course you can ask Dominicans too, but the expat situation questions and teaching are helpful. Another pro is that it's really easy to travel around the Dominican Republic. It's not that big. I think it's 7 times smaller than the state of New York, is what I've heard. So if you can imagine that, if you've been to New York, it's pretty easy to drive around here. I think it would take like 8 hours to drive from the north to the south. I haven't really heard anyone driving longer. Well, I guess if you go diagonal all the way across, but the point is it's pretty easy to travel around. If you want to visit beaches, the north coast, Punta Cana, the south, wherever, it's easy. And getting there is a little bit hard because if you don't have a car, you might have to take a system of buses, like a coach bus and then a guagua, those little van buses, or rent a car. But there are definitely options, and there's lots of those guaguas that run every day throughout the whole country. So that definitely helps if you want to travel around the country. In the beginning of last year, like I went so many different places in the country, and it was awesome to get to see new things. Another pro of teaching here is that it's pretty cheap to live and to eat. So my apartment, and most schools do this, my apartment was through the school, they found it for me, and then my rent was way discounted because it was like a school house, and I did have roommates, but that was fine. I think I ended up paying like 3,000 pesos at the end, every month, so that's like, math, that's like $65. We did pay electricity and internet as well, so it got a little bit more expensive, and our electric was kind of messed up, so it was a little bit too high, but $60 a month for rent is great. That's a pro. Usually the school helps you find housing, and it's really affordable and often furnished. Another pro is that there are cheap apartments, so if it didn't work out with school housing, or you wanted to live alone or move out, whatever, if the school allows it, then it's pretty easy to find a cheap apartment in whatever area you're in. It might not be the nicest, it might not have hot water, but you definitely can find cheap housing here. Another pro is that there were less regulations than teaching at an American school in the States. So we definitely had to like hand in lesson plans and like do trainings on the books that we were using and workshops and stuff, but I think that there's less regulations in terms of the content that you're teaching and following a direct book. That could kind of also be a con, but yeah, I kind of like it was a little bit more flexible with the way that you want to do your lesson and the way that you want to present the information. Another pro is cheap doctors. So the school provided insurance, and there's pretty cheap doctors, dentists, eye doctors around here. I think with my insurance, I had an eye exam for 300 pesos, which is like $6. So that is really helpful. And if you are teaching abroad, you definitely should get insurance through the school. And if you do, then things are cheap to get taken care of here. Another pro is that the country is really beautiful. So there definitely are a lot of really cool places to go to. Beaches, mountains, rivers, waterfalls, excursions that you can go on for really cheap. So it's definitely fun if you can get away and have time on the weekend to do those things. And I think this is a pro and a con. Culture is hard to adapt to. So the machoism here and the very laid backness, that's not a word, types of things definitely can be a pro for some people and a con for some people. So it's just an adjustment period for me. It was just like, you know, I have to get used to the culture, and it is what it is. Another pro about teaching in the Dominican Republic is that usually you will be close to the school. So the cities here are not huge. Santo Domingo's big and lots of traffic, but even then, I think that the school puts you in an apartment pretty close to where you'll be teaching. Mine was literally on the same street, and then that house didn't work out, so we moved to another one, and that was like 5 minutes away. So that's really easy. I have a friend teaching in China, and he said that he has to travel like 4 hours every day on a bus to get to all of his schools. He's like moving around. So that was definitely a pro, not a long commute at all. The cons is low pay. So if you're looking to move abroad, teach English, make a ton of money, don't come here. Pay in this country is really low. And for teachers, it's better, but it's not great. The average pay monthly here for a Dominican employee is $200 a month. I made $400 a month. I think a little bit less after like rent and electricity and all that was taken out of my check. So that's not a lot. I had my online jobs throughout the whole year, which made it a little bit crazy, but I had to do that because I wanted to save up. So it's not like Vietnam or South Korea or Thailand where you're making like 700 plus. I've heard all the way more. Someone else in China I know is making over 2,000 a month for teaching English. Another con is discipline. So it's kind of known here, I guess, at least with a lot of people I've spoken to, that the schools severely lack in discipline. So it would make me crazy every day. And again, there are schools that definitely are like on top of it. My experience is a little bit different. So yeah, just sending kids to the office if they were bad and just getting them sent right back up. Like, he's back, I told him to stop. There just was no consequence. I think here the kids have way more control than I'm used to in the States. I don't know, like, one of the directors told me a kid can literally stab you and we're not allowed to suspend them, let alone expel them. And I was like, that's terrifying. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're gonna keep a kid in the school that's gonna stab me? That didn't happen, by the way. Thankfully. Frustrating, like, I didn't have an assistant and my class had a really bad discipline problem. And there's already, I think, a lack of respect with females. So I don't know, it was frustrating, and the discipline here is very common in schools. So don't come expecting that the staff or the directors are really gonna take discipline issues seriously. The kids talk a lot here, so be ready for them to talk a lot while you're trying to get them settled down. But if you can get into a routine with them and set up your own kind of consequences, then should be okay. Con is that it's hard to travel to other countries. So I know an appeal of teaching abroad in Asia, for example, is that it's really cheap and easy to travel around to other countries. Europe as well, I think. Here, not so much. You can travel the country very easily. You can go to Haiti, but even to go to Puerto Rico is a like $200 ferry or $200+ flight. And I know that's not super expensive, but it's not as cheap or as easy to travel abroad if you're only making $400 and you don't have any other jobs. I thought it would be way easier to get to, like, I don't know, South America as well, but not so much, because a lot of flights don't leave internationally from here. They mostly go to the United States. Another con is that there's often a lot of changes in schools with lessons or materials that you're going to use, or just throwing another kid in the class, or organizational issues. A lot of people quit, at least at my school, and leave early, so then it's an adjustment. So you have to be flexible and ready for changes to come, because it will. You might end up teaching a subject that you were not planning to when you came in. Another con is that there's very long hours. So I worked from 7:30 in the morning to 4 p.m. Sometimes I was at school till 5 p.m. We had a meeting after. We had night events, parent-teacher conferences, and gatherings, and all of that stuff. And you don't get paid extra for that. So it's just like a flat rate. Expect long hours. I think that's like a normal school day for teachers though. And another con is it's hard to get things done. So you can ask for help, you can ask for something to be done many times and it won't be. So it gets annoying having to follow up a lot of times, and I'm not very like confrontational person. Or I don't want to annoy people, so I just kind of leave it and then it doesn't get done. I don't like having to like follow up. I like to have things just like done, when you ask, or when someone tells you that they're going to be done by that time. But I'm also talking in terms of in the town, like getting your internet, if it's broken, getting it fixed is a nightmare. Getting bills paid can be really hard sometimes. Getting your money from the States can be hard. So having more patience, flexibility will make all of that better for you. For my pros and cons down below, and let me know if you have any questions about teaching abroad to help you out if you're interested in moving here. Something that I will say is I think it would be more ideal if you don't have a lot of teaching experience in the States or wherever you're coming from to just teach English and not do like a whole grade like I did. I think that would be more manageable and like allow you more time to travel, maybe if you have a better schedule, like less hours. I think if you're teaching English abroad, it's usually 20 to 30 hours a week. So you might have some more time to travel around and do fun things, but the teaching I think would be more manageable as well. So that's just my thoughts. I don't know, comment below what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you can subscribe, I would really appreciate it. That would help me out a lot. And if you can give a thumbs up, that would be even better.